Hello, this is Brett Lonsdale from Lightning Tools, and welcome to another webinar. This webinar, we're going to be talking about the Lightning Conductor, and specifically, we're going to be talking about the Lightning Conductor for SharePoint Online and also Microsoft Teams. And today, we're going to spend actually quite a good deal of time inside the Teams environment to show you how the product can work with Teams tabs, as well as being a web part on a SharePoint page. So before we dive into that, let me just tell you a little bit about Lightning Tools if you're unfamiliar about us. We are a company that provides different tools and web parts for Microsoft SharePoint and of course Microsoft Teams, as I just alluded to. Those products are in areas such as content rollup, which is obviously what we're going to be taking a look at today. And that's not just content rollup from SharePoint lists and libraries, but also from Microsoft Graph entities as well, which we'll also be taking a look at today. And these Graph entities are basically anything inside Microsoft 365 nowadays. So if we want to get content from things like Planner or from messages or from OneDrive items, bits and pieces like that, we can use the Lightning Conductor to aggregate that content and to be able to build reports containing things like conditional formatting and so on. And of course, you're going to be seeing that today. We've also got our discussion forum product, which is called Social Squared, and Social Squared is available for SharePoint on premises. We also do it for SharePoint Online, Modern, and Classic. It also works inside of Teams. In fact, it works in Teams tabs and also the brand new personal apps as well, which came out just a few weeks ago from Microsoft. So you can add your Social Squared app onto a personal app, and then everybody can access it from the left-hand navigation bar within inside Teams. So feel free to check that out on our website if you're interested in a discussion forum, especially if you've got a lot of people working remotely and so on. It'd be very suitable for that. We also have a list form editor called Lightning Forms, and Lightning Forms is a tool that allows you to customize the look and feel and also add calculations and logic to your SharePoint list forms. Again, it supports the modern as well as the classic SharePoint on premises from 2016 or 2019, and also of course SharePoint Online too. So you can easily customize those forms and build your solutions within inside of SharePoint. For those of you wishing to access external data, we've got some tools around that. So using business connectivity services, we have something known as BCS MetaMan. That helps you to build the connections to some of your external data sources so that you can link to the data inside of relational databases and whatnot. And then around that, we also have some visualization from Prem and again also online and Teams. So you can build charts, you can also build grids or reports of information as well, again containing things like conditional formatting, so you can really make your business data available to people that again maybe working remotely, but also build dashboards of information throughout SharePoint. And finally, we've also got a permissions management tool, which is known as DeliverPoint. And DeliverPoint enables SharePoint administrators, as well as site owners and site collection administrators, content owners basically, to be able to manage permissions more effectively and report on those permissions so we know exactly who's got access to the content. And two, that is available for Teams as well, so you can start to manage the users that have access to your different teams and private channels. Okay, so that's pretty much what we do as a company. And like I said, we're going to be focusing on this tool in the top right-hand corner, the content rollup tool, which is known as the Lightning Conductor. So a little bit about myself, so you know who you're talking to. My name's Brett Lonsdale. I'm based over here in the UK, obviously working from home today and presenting the Lightning Conductor to you. So I do lots of things in the community, and that's led to an award for the Office Apps and Services Microsoft MVP Award, which thankfully have been rewarded twice now. So that's lovely to have that as recognition of those efforts. So let's dive into the Lightning Conductor and have a look at why you might want to use this. So the Lightning Conductor, we're going to be focusing in on SharePoint Online today, but to tell you what the Lightning Conductor does, both in on-prem and online, it's basically allowing you to be more productive so you can find your content more easily. That's what it does for the end user. So anybody that's perhaps got tasks that could be appearing in lots of different sites throughout SharePoint, or even tasks in Planner or anything like that, or maybe you've got documents that you created and you can't remember where you stored them, which document library, that anything like that, any kind of content where you need to go from place to place within inside of SharePoint, being able to aggregate that content to build a report and see that information in one place is really useful. So you can see all your tasks in one place. That includes SharePoint list tasks as well as planner tasks. You can see documents in one place. You can see all announcements and so on, so that that information is effectively coming to you. You're not going to look for it. And that's why we like Outlook so much. So one of the things that Outlook does for us is it brings information to us. We get to receive emails. We get to receive invitations to events and meetings and things like that. So it's always coming to us, and we can see that all in one place in Outlook. With SharePoint, it's vice versa. You have to go looking for this content. So that's what the Lightning Connector will do. Now, of course, there are out-of-the-box tools that also aggregate content. So they're in historically is the content query web part. That was the first aggregation tool. And we also have the content by search web part. So these were very much on-premises tools. And then there's the highlighted content web part, which is available for SharePoint Online as well. And all three of these are very difficult to configure as far as building a report that meets your needs entirely. So if you've got custom columns inside of document libraries that are required inside the aggregated view that you're creating, or you've got tasks and you want to see a bit more than just the task title, if you want to see things like the start date, the due date, who it's assigned to, what the priority is, things like that, everything that you already have, of course, inside the list itself, then that would require a developer to start building a report. As far as content by search and content query, anyway, inside the highlighted content, it's actually impossible. So that's the challenge there. So with the Lightning Connector, you can aggregate content from lots of different places, and you can build the view in the way that you want to see it. So that information is coming to you. It's either filtered or it's highlighted to show you what's relevant to you as well. And like I said, that one place that it's aggregating doesn't have to be SharePoint anymore. It can also be Teams as well if you want to see it there. So these are some of the reasons the Lightning Connector, like I say, business users can configure it. It doesn't require developers or consultants to build these. It doesn't require any code at all, which you're going to see very, very shortly. You can make the content stand out really easily. You don't need to use JSON or anything like that. You can very easily add conditional formatting, and that can be using colors, or it can be using icons and so on to make the content stand out. You can get content in real time or by using search for performance, or you can also use Microsoft Graph as well to bring content in from outside of SharePoint, which includes the rest of Office 365. You can work with classic site collections. You can also work with hub sites and associated sites. So that's a really powerful thing to do, is to put the Lightning Connector on a hub site and aggregate the content from all of the associated sites to that hub site. And again, that's very, very simple. We can get there within just a few clicks. You can build the reports on SharePoint pages or Microsoft Teams pages, as I mentioned. We've got high performance without being throttled, and we're code quality certified by a company called Rencor in Germany, who have also a really fantastic tool called SPCAF. And SPCAF is a product that will check that any third-party products or products that you built internally that are going in SharePoint meet all the best practices. There's no bad code, there's no memory leaks or anything like that. And we got certified for that with the Lightning Connector and a few of our other products as well. Okay, so that's the last slide. Let's jump in and take a look at what the Lightning Conductor can do. So here we're just going to flick to SharePoint. There we go. So the SharePoint we all know and love. And as you can see, we've got the Lightning Connector on the page. I haven't yet configured it. And I've also got Microsoft Teams here as well with the Lightning Connector as a tab. So these are the two places where you can go through and add the Lightning Connector. So on a page, you can edit the page, and as you hover over, you can click onto that Add a New Web Part button. And in here, just simply search for Lightning and in there you're going to see the Lightning Conductor, and that's how you add the web part onto the page. Really, really simple. If we go to Teams, and you want to add it onto a tab like this, then you just click the plus icon there, and you're going to see the Lightning Conductor in here, and you can basically select that, and it'll go through and add the Lightning Conductor tab inside your environment. So we just hit save here. There we go. We've now got 2 instances of the Lightning Conductor, and this is waiting to be configured. So these are the 2 places, and let's just, whilst we're in Teams, let's build a report. So what I want to do is just report on the tasks that are inside the SharePoint site that this team belongs to. So what I can do is hit the configure button, and in the drop down here we can choose tasks. I want to aggregate all tasks from the current site. I could, like I said, choose other sites as well, or content from other site collections and things like that. And I'm going to display the results in a grid view. So really straightforward. In order to get that, we can hide some of these other controls if we want to take up a little bit more space with our report, and we can adjust all the columns and so on to really suit our requirements there. So that's the Lightning Conductor in Teams. You've got the ability to work with, like I said, conditional formatting. You can add additional columns and things like that to this. So let's just close that. You'll notice here in a moment, there's our report created. We can also rename that tab, which is useful. So we could call this tasks. It doesn't need to say Lightning Conductor. So everybody can see that that's just called tasks now, and they'll be able to see their tasks coming from the underlying site. So one of the things I want to show you also that is brand new to the Lightning Conductor, and that is when I show you the conditional formatting. We're going to do a little bit more of that inside of SharePoint, but what I want to show you here inside of Teams is something that's, like I say, brand new. And we're going to go to the filter tab here, and under the, sorry, no, we're not. We're going to, first of all, we're going to go into the settings. And in the drop down, we're going to go down to the column settings, and then we're going to go down to formatting. And under the formatting, what I want to see is the tasks that are assigned to me. And I'm logged in here as the LT or Lightning Tools admin account at the moment, the Lightning Tools admin account. So I could type that in here, or I can say, I'm going to use the word like, just in case this is a task where there's multiple people that are working on the task, and I'm just one of them. So I'm going to say like, in other words, it will contain me. And instead of putting in my name here, I'm actually going to select this brand new icon. And if you've been using the Lightning Conductor for a while, you won't see this yet. It's due to be released any day now. And I wanted to take this opportunity to show you it. So what I'm going to do is click this brand new icon, and I'm going to choose the current environment that I'm in, the page environment. And from the list of properties, I'm going to go down to the current user information. And that current user information is going to come from the username, so the username of the person that I'm logged in as. So this is using new dynamic data connections for SPFx, if anybody's interested in that. So it's just going to go and get the username, and that's going to be my criteria for the conditional formatting. So in other words, this is saying if the assigned to is the person that's currently logged on. And if that's true, then I want to display an icon. And the icon is just going to be a little dot here. And so we're sort of working within the colors of the environment, the theme. I'm going to go through and select the theme color here and save that. And we'll position this little dot over to the left-hand side of the text. And we'll hit save and save again. And now you can see here that my tasks are standing out to me. I can see which ones are assigned to me. So whenever anybody goes into Teams, they can see that. And of course, you could apply that same sort of logic, not just to the assigned to column for tasks, but also for files that you created, or files that you modified, or files that you've got checked out to you, or anything like that, and build that connection using the current user. And you can also work with other types of dynamic data connections that I'm going to show you as well, and we'll jump into SharePoint to take a look at that. Okay, so over into SharePoint, let's just configure a similar view here. So I'm going to click onto configure, and I didn't mention too much about this just a moment ago, but what we do have here inside the quick configuration is the ability to bring content in from lots of different places. Most of these are going to be SharePoint lists. So we've got things like documents, tasks, events, and announcements. These are all SharePoint lists, but we've also got messages and users, which are not SharePoint lists. These are coming from Microsoft Graph. And Microsoft Graph is a way where we can go and get content, like I say, from lots of different places throughout SharePoint, or sorry, throughout Microsoft 365. So to begin with, I'm just going to use tasks. We can select a refined view. So again, I'll just go with all tasks here. And I'm going to work with current site just because that's where I've got some nice, neat looking content. And we're going to display it in a grid view again. So we're going to see the same results as what we just saw a moment ago. So there's my tasks here. And I'm going to go through and name that view. So we're going to call this view all tasks because effectively there is no filter on it. So we'll do that. And what I'm going to show you here is how I can actually go through and clone this view. So if I hit the ellipsis here and I choose clone view, what I'm going to do is actually create another view. Sorry, I changed the order there accidentally. There we go. So here we're going to just have this one called completed tasks. And I'm going to clone that again. So we have another one, and this is going to be non-completed tasks or in progress tasks, whatever we want to call it. Okay, so there's my three views, and of course all of them, because I just cloned them, they're all exactly the same. So what you'll see here is we can go through and select the view. So we've got the all tasks one. I'm going to go down to the completed tasks view, and we'll apply a filter to this one. So I'm going to click onto the cog icon here, go to columns, and here under task status, we're going to set that equal to completed. There we go. So we have a completed tasks view of which there's only one. And we're going to go through to the in progress tasks. So there's our in progress tasks. We'll click onto the icon for that. And under columns here, we'll once again go to the task status, and we could say is equal to in progress or not equal to completed, whatever. And I'll just save that. So now we've got our in progress tasks, we have completed tasks, and we've got all tasks. Okay, now this is a nice little view that we want, or a nice few views that we want to work with. And what I want to do here is actually connect this to a query string or a query parameter so that we can click onto a link and take this or take the user directly to a view that's useful to them. So we could build these links inside a links list or something like that, display them on the page. One would be show my completed tasks, another one could be show me all tasks, and the other one could be show me in progress tasks. And so what we're going to do here is just come up top, do a question mark. We could call this whatever we want. I'll put view name, and in here we'll say view name equals, and just make sure that I get this right, completed space tasks. Okay, so at the moment that's going to make no difference whatsoever. It's just going to be loading the default view. But what I'm going to do is once again just go into the edit mode for the web part, click onto the little pencil icon here to bring up the Lightning Conductor configuration again. And what I want it to do is, depending on the query string parameter, I want it to load the appropriate view. So if we click on a link that takes us to the completed tasks using the query string, then it's going to go to this view. If we click on a link that takes us to the in progress tasks, it will take us to that view, and so on. So to do that, we can click on the ellipsis here, and I'm going to say connect default view. And in here, we can choose again the page environment, and I'm going to choose this time the query string rather than the current user information. And the query string properties is going to be a query parameter rather than a URL fragment. And notice in there is view name, which is what I typed in at the top. So it's picking that up, as well as the mode, which is because I'm in edit mode at the moment. So we'll choose view name, and that's it. Of course, it's going to get the value from the query string, so it's just mapping that to it. So we'll republish, and let's just load that page again. Maybe I didn't name that right. So that should be connected, completed tasks. Maybe not. Let me just try that one more time. Of course, this wouldn't be a demo if this went completely smoothly. It could be something to do with just the spaces in there, maybe. Let's just make my life easier by doing that. And once again, we just go through and map the view name. Okay, so hopefully this will work. So we've got the all tasks. So view name is equal to all tasks. And what I want to do is change that to completed. So let's try that. There we go. So we've now got completed tasks, and the other view I called was in progress. So in here we can just change that to in progress. And now I have all the in progress tasks. So these can be hyperlinks that take us to the page and load different content using different views depending on the query string parameter. And what we can also do to save the user from actually changing that, if we want it to only be controlled via the query string, then we can actually go through and hide the view changing menu from the user so that literally they cannot change it, so they cannot select the view now. They have to go by the link that directed you to this page. So that's another brand new feature of the Lightning Conductor, is how we can load different views using connections, and it doesn't have to be from the query string. You could load the connection from other different places as well, and just mapping that to the name of the view. Okay, so the other thing that we could do is also use these brand new webpack connections with some of the columns and filters. So in here, if we went to sorry, let me just go through and delete that. And instead of, so I'm just going to disconnect that connection. So instead of using the query string parameters here in order to control the view that's loaded, we could also work it with the filters as well. So let me just put that view changing menu back on. There we go, and republish this. There we go. So we're seeing, let's change to all tasks. There we go. So we're looking at all tasks. Now, instead of changing the view menu with the query string parameter, we could just work with the filters, of course. So we could go through to filter and change this to be in progress, and that will load the data accordingly. And then we could change our filter or clear the filter to the completed and so on. But what I want to show you is how we can also do that using a connection. So we don't actually need to go into the edit mode for this. We can click onto filter and we can click onto the connect value to data source icon again. And this again is going to look for a query string parameter. So at the moment, there isn't one to choose from. Notice how it's not returning that. So I need to go through and provide a query string parameter. So in here, we'll have question mark, and we'll call this one maybe task status. And we'll set that one equal to completed. Okay, so again, currently that's not going to do anything until we go through and connect. So here we'll create our connection, choosing the page environment, choose the query string. From the query parameters, I'm able to select task status and save that. And that's now connected So whenever we load this page with the task status equals completed up there, it's going to show me the completed tasks, and we could change it, of course, to in progress or however that is displayed. Let's just try my luck here. There we go. So there's our in progress tasks and so on as well. So there's three things here where we're using dynamic data with SPFx connections. One is for the task status. We've also got it for the view, and we've also got it for conditional formatting. Okay, so that's a great little view to build, and there's lots of other conditional formatting that you can do. So here you can see a bit of conditional formatting on the due date. We could go through and do a similar sort of thing using things like data bars and things like that. So here, if we wanted to have data bars, so we could very easily sort of see the progress of some of these tasks, we can hide that value because that looks a little bit ugly. So if we just go back into the formatting and in here, say hide value, notice how we can now see the task status using that. And we've got things like grouping and things like this that we can do. So I could easily go through and group by the priority of the tasks and so on and so forth. So really easy to configure, and hopefully you'll be able to build a report very easily that gives you the content that you want to see. So the next thing I want to show you is just how we can also jump into an advanced mode of the Lightning Conductor, and this is where we can do more granular things with regards to where the content is coming from, but we can also work with like I say, things like graph or search and things like that to bring content into the product as well. So if we click onto the plus icon again to create a new view, notice call it new view 1, and we can click onto the cog icon there. That's going to take me into the quick configuration, and this is where we can choose the type of data, how do we want to refine it, where's the data coming from, and we can also display it in different ways as well, which we haven't really touched on yet. So just to show you that I could do things like create a calendar view. So if I wanted to see those tasks that I've created in a calendar, which incidentally also has conditional formatting, which you can change. So if you wanted to see any overdue tasks, they'll be displayed in red. Any in progress are shown as green, and those are about to come overdue are showing in purple, and so on. And all of that can be changed if you want to. So that's just another example. And again, that can be displayed inside of Teams or inside of SharePoint. You've got things like a day, week, month view, and things like that in there as well that you can work with. So that's just another quick view that we created using the quick configuration. So we'll call that calendar view. So another view, if we hit the plus icon, notice if you're working with document libraries, you've got things like tiles that you can display. So that will preview the document. But what we're going to do here is just jump straight into the advanced mode. And what I want to show you is you could bring content back from things like the search. So there's three choices in here. You've got search, you've got the object model, you've got the graph rollup provider. So if I was to choose search, under the data source, notice this is all about search, and you can use all those built-in search result sources to work for you. So if we wanted to, we could go through and select one of these different result sources here, so we can bring back images or documents or conversations, anything that's popular, things like that. We can also use the content type to bring back content. So in here, for example, I could go through and say my content type ID is going to be task or document, whatever. So I can select that, and that then becomes the criteria for getting my content. And I can limit the scope to different site collections if I want to. And then under the columns tab, it then gives me some of the different managed columns that I can work with. So these aren't the columns that you would actually see in the list. These are managed data columns that are mapped to the search results. But we've got things like the title, size, etc., that we can display in there, and bring back that content. We can change all the different display properties and things like that if we want to. So that's using search, and we can also use, like I said, the graph rollup provider. So the graph rollup provider, when we go to the entity, notice here we've got a list of different entities that we can work with. So we can bring back planner tasks, we can bring back messages, we can bring back events, so calendar events, drive items, that's for one drive item, and so on. So there's lots of information we can get at using the graph. And you'll notice here, if we just talk through a couple of them, if I was to choose planner task, notice when we add a query that we've got the ability to use a predefined query, such as user planner tasks, or I can go and use a custom one where I can put in any query that I like into here. So there's planner tasks, there's users, and so on that we can build. And either you can go through and build your query this way. So here, if I was to add a query, I could say I'm going to use a predefined one. I want information about all users. I could add that and then go through and select all the columns, and this is all the user profile columns. So if I want to create a birthday list or something, we could use conditional formatting to highlight if it's the person's birthday or not, things like that. You've got things like job title, mail, my site URL, all of that sort of stuff. There's a whole bunch of things that you can get from each user to build a report. And so you could work with that, go through and select which columns you want to see. And as you can see, you've got very granular controls over whether you want to be able to sort by these, whether you want to be able to filter by them. You can create calculated columns and things like that, and then start refining your display. And the display can be refined, so you can change the display format of some of the different columns. You can group by them and do all the conditional formatting in here, and also refine some of the general view settings like the header and bits and pieces like that. So you can go through that, or you can very quickly, just using the quick configuration, let me just delete that view. So we'll add a new one in here and jump into the quick config. And in here we can choose users from the graph, hit save, and it's a great starting point. So in here I can add the view called users, so we can go through and select that, and there we go, there's a whole bunch of users. And one of the things is a lot of these users are guest users, other ones are SharePoint users. They have a SharePoint license. So what I can do is do things like group by, so we can group by the user type. So now I've got guest users and members, or I could use conditional formatting to highlight my guest users and members, and bits and pieces like this. So it's a great way of building a report, again, that you can go through and refine. And if we did that as a starting point, and then you wanted to go through and customize it slightly, you can. So if we wanted to add country or department or something like that into here, you can do that. And on your display, we can maybe refine this a little bit. So we can make things like the mail, hyperlink, user type. We could display the user's picture if there was one. Display name can be formatted, and so on and so forth. You can also provide aliases. So where it's got the principal name, you might want to call that full name or something like this, or just name or something. So we can go through and add those, and then maybe turn on things like sticky headers, change where you're grouping and things like that. So it makes for a very easy to work with tool. So that's bringing back user information, but like I say, you could bring back all sorts of information using the graph and display it either inside of SharePoint or also here in Microsoft Teams. Okay, so hopefully that gave you a little bit of a taster of what the Lightning Conductor can do for you. And if there's anything specific, then what you can actually do is go through and request a demonstration. And when you request a demo, if you go onto the Lightning Tools website, there is a request a demo button on every product page. So go to the Lightning Conductor, click onto request a demo. You can book a time slot with me, and in there you'll be able to put in what your exact requirements are. And give us a little bit of notice. So don't book a demo in 10 minutes time, say my exact requirements are this. So give me some time to build up an example where we can show you how you can use the Lightning Conductor to do exactly what you need. And also, just want to point out where you can download it from. So use this tiny URL to take you straight to the product page where you can download it. There is a trial license that you can use, and we've also got a offer on at the moment, which expires on the 30th of July 2020, and that is a 15-month subscription of this product for the price of 12 months. So effectively you're getting 3 months there to get it configured how you want, get your users adopted with the product and so on, and then you can be running with it and save them endless amounts of hours and time per day or per week when they're looking for content. Okay, so thank you very much for that. If you have any questions, please email me on brett@lightningtools.com. So that's brett@lightningtools.com. I'll be very happy to answer any questions that you might have. And yeah, thank you very much.